Welcome back, everyone. We're diving headfirst into a game that, well, let's just say it doesn't hold back on the action.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking pure adrenaline-pumping mayhem with this one.
Exactly. We're all about Bulletstorm today.
Yeah, Bulletstorm.
A first-person shooter that really throws the rule book out when it comes to, I don't know, just crazy over-the-top action, you know?
It really does. I mean, it takes those core elements, the shooting, the movement, and just cranks it up to 11.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna be digging into today. What makes Bulletstorm so unique?
Yeah, what makes it tick?
So Bulletstorm, for those who maybe haven't had the pleasure, it came out back in 2011.
A joint effort from People Can Fly and Epic Games.
And they actually, they did a remaster in 2017 called the Full Clip Edition.
Right, which introduced it to a whole new audience.
Yeah, but here's the thing. For a game this innovative, this much fun, it didn't exactly become a household name.
No, it didn't. And that's what we're trying to figure out why.
Was it just overshadowed? Was it too out there for its time?
Maybe a little bit of both. I mean, thinking back to 2011.
Oh, yeah.
That was a huge GE year for gaming.
Oh, man, huge.
You had Skyrim, you had Dark Souls, Battlefield 3 was massive.
It was like a constant stream of hits.
And I think in that landscape, Bulletstorm, with its unique, maybe a little unconventional approach, might have gotten a little lost.
A little lost in the shuffle, maybe.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, those other games were offering these vast, expansive worlds or these really hardcore multiplayer experiences.
Very serious, very intense.
Exactly. And Bulletstorm was over here saying, hey, let's have some fun. Let's be ridiculous.
Yeah, it was definitely like a totally different vibe. But so to kind of paint a picture for people who haven't played it, imagine this. You're not just running around shooting enemies. You're rewarded for getting creative, for style.
Oh, yeah. And that's where the skillshot system comes in. It's honestly the heart of Bulletstorm.
So break it down for us. What exactly a skillshot shot?
Okay, so instead of just, putting a bullet in someone's head, you could kick them into a cactus. Boom, skillshot.
Okay, see, now we're talking.
Or use your energy leash to fling them into an electrical fence. Another skillshot.
It's like the more creative, the more brutal, the better.
Yeah, you get points for being outrageous, and you use those points to upgrade your weapons.
So you're encouraged to think outside the box, use your environment?
Precisely. It turns every encounter into this over-the-top action movie scene.
And it sounds like it encourages a certain kind of strategy too, right?
Oh, absolutely. You're not just randomly pulling off these moves, you're planning them out, setting them up, really using them to control the flow of combat.
So it adds this whole other layer to the gameplay.
Exactly. And I think that depth sometimes gets overlooked because on the surface, it's a game about shooting dudes in ridiculous ways.
Right. There's that initial impression, but there's more to it.
Way more. Like a surprising amount of nuance. And that brings us to the elephant in the room.
All right, let's talk about it. The humor. We're following Grayson Hunt, space pirate extraordinaire.
Love that guy.
He loves whiskey. He's got a mouth that make a sailor blush, and he's on this revenge mission against General Serrano.
And the whole journey is just soaked in this, dark, sarcastic humor.
And is Grayson Hunt ever not cracking wise?
Not if he can help it. And, he's got this crew, like Ishi, who's half cyborg.
Right, the whole crew is pretty memorable.
Oh, yeah, they play off each other perfectly.
What was the humor? Was it a hit or miss for you? Because I know it was a bit much for some.
Well, it's definitely subjective. Some people might find it juvenile, a little too much.
Yeah, I could see that.
But for me, it was part of the charm. The game never takes itself too seriously. It knows it's over the top.
It embraces the absurdity.
Absolutely. It's like a B-movie action flick that winks at you the whole time.
And that self-awareness, I think, is key because it lets it go places other games wouldn't.
Exactly. It pushes boundaries because it's not trying to be this gritty, realistic war simulator.
It's just pure, unadulterated fun.
Exactly. And it wants you to know that. Now, speaking of pushing boundaries, let's talk weapons.
Oh, yeah. This is where things get really interesting. Because Bulletstorm doesn't just give you guns, it gives you tools of creative destruction.
Oh, yeah. Each weapon feels so unique, almost like it was designed with specific skill shots in mind.
Okay, give us some examples. What are we working with here?
Well, you've got the flail gun. Shoots these exploding chains that wrap around enemies, pull them towards you. Then there's the bone duster shotgun. Oh man, that thing is perfect for up close and personal bone-shattering blasts.
So we're not just talking your standard issue assault rifles here.
Nope. This is about as far from standard issue as you can get.
And you mentioned the energy leash earlier. That's not just your average weapon, is it?
No way! That leash is like this multi-tool of mayhem. You can yank enemies in close, fling them off cliffs, even use them as projectiles. It adds this whole extra layer of strategy to the combat.
So you can really manipulate the environment to your advantage.
Exactly. You see an explosive barrel, yank an enemy into it, fan blades spinning, send them flying into those. And the giant carnivorous plants.
Oh, don't even get me started on those plants. They're terrifying.
But they make for some amazing skill shots, right?
Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And amazing skill shots, yeah.
It's all about using what's around you. It's what makes Bulletstorm so dynamic.
So we've got this game that's fast-paced, it's over the top, but surprisingly strategic.
With a unique sense of humor, a memorable cast of characters.
And an arsenal of weapons that would make a Bond villain jealous.
And yet, for some reason, it didn't quite capture the spotlight when it first launched.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why? What happened?
Well, that's what we're going to dig into next.
We'll try to untangle that mystery.
After a quick break.
Just kidding. We're keeping this momentum going. No breaks needed. So we're trying to figure out why Bulletstorm didn't become, the mega hit it maybe could have been.
Right, like it had all the ingredients, but
something didn't quite click. You mentioned timing earlier. 2011 was a crazy year for games.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it. You had Skyrim swallowing up hundreds of hours of people's lives.
And Dark Souls punishing anyone who even blinked.
Right. And then Battlefield 3 comes along with its just massive online multiplayer scene.
So are you saying Bulletstorm just got drowned out by all the noise?
It's possible. I mean, those other games were offering these huge immersive worlds or these just hardcore competitive experiences.
And Bulletstorm was kind of like the party animal in the corner, just having a blast.
Exactly. Which, hey, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. But maybe it was just too different, too niche at the time.
Maybe. But here's the thing that kind of bugs me.
Oh.
Even if it wasn't for everyone, the marketing should have at least shown off what made it special.
Right, like you see those early trailers, and it's all explosions and one-liners.
Exactly. Which, again, fun stuff, don't get me wrong.
Oh, totally.
But they didn't really dig into the strategy, the depth of that skill shot system.
Or how the energy leash let you just, choreograph this insane ballet of destruction.
Yes. They were showing you the icing, but not the cake itself.
So maybe people just didn't get it. They saw the surface, but not what was underneath.
It's possible. Because, Bulletstorm wasn't just about shooting. It was about using your brain, planning those attacks, stringing together those combos.
And I wonder if that's why it's kind of found a new life in recent years.
Oh, you mean with the full clip edition and all?
Yeah, like did people finally start to see past those first impressions, discover what was hiding in plain sight?
Maybe. Plus, a whole new generation of gamers got their hands on it.
Gamers who maybe had a different perspective, different expectations.
Right. And word of mouth probably helped too.
Yeah, once people actually played it, they could tell their friends, yo, this game is wild, you gotta try it.
Exactly. And I think you can see Bulletstorm's DNA in some of the more recent FPS games that have done really well.
Oh, interesting. Which ones are you thinking of?
Well, like Doom Eternal, for example. That emphasis on fast-paced combat, the glory kills.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see.
There's definitely a bit of Bulletstorm spirit in there.
So, in a way, it was ahead of its time. Like, it planted the seeds for what an FPS could be.
That's a cool way to look at it. Because it really did dare to be different. It took a risk.
And in a genre that can be kind of, stuck in its ways sometimes.
Yeah, all that serious military shooter stuff.
Exactly. So after all this, what do you think is the biggest reason Bulletstorm deserves a second look? Especially for people who maybe missed it the first time.
Honestly, it's just pure, unadulterated fun. It's a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, and it lets you do the same.
It's like a big, dumb action movie that knows exactly what it is.
Yes. And it's a reminder that games are supposed to be fun.
Yeah, sometimes we forget that, getting caught up in all the hype, the graphics, the competition.
Right. But Bulletstorm is like, hey, let's just blow some stuff up and have a laugh.
Exactly. And, even though it's over the top, there's still depth there.
Oh, absolutely. That skill shot system, the energy leash, the crazy environments, it all comes together in a really cool way.
You have to be creative. You have to think on your feet. You have to use your brain and your reflexes. It's a constant challenge.
So it's not just mindless button mashing.
Not at all. You got to be smart about it.
So it's fun, it's frantic, but there's a real layer of strategy underneath.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so special. It's this perfect blend of, dumb fun and actual depth.
And it's a good reminder that sometimes breaking the mold, being different, that's what leads to something truly unique.
Couldn't said it better myself. And who knows? Maybe Bulletstorm's success, even if it was a bit delayed, maybe that will inspire a new wave of FPS games.
Games that aren't afraid to be a little weird, a little
A
crazy.
little more focused on the joy of just playing.
Okay, so we've explored the ins and outs of Bulletstorm, its triumphs, its quirks, its place in the gaming world. And now that we've explored all that, here's something I've been thinking about, and I'd love to get your take on it.
Do you think Bulletstorm, with its the over-the-top action and that kind of dark humor, could it actually be like a blueprint? Yeah. For a new wave of FPS games, you know what I mean?
It's a really interesting question because, I mean, we have seen a shift in recent years, haven't we? Towards more experimental, more innovative FPS titles.
Right, games that are like, forget the rules, let's just go wild.
Exactly. Games that are willing to break away from the tried and true, the established conventions.
And you could definitely argue that Bulletstorm was kind of a pioneer in that sense, right? Like with its focus on player creativity, those crazy weapons.
Oh, yeah, and that unapologetically absurd tone.
It's like it knew it was ridiculous and it just ran with it.
It absolutely embraced the ridiculous, encouraged you to to try anything, to go for the craziest stuff you could think of.
And it did it with a sense of humor that was, let's just say, distinctly Bulletstorm.
Yeah, there's no mistaking it for anything else.
And I think, there's a real appetite out there for games that don't take themselves too seriously.
Oh, for sure. Games that let you just cut loose, blow off some steam.
Exactly. It's like the world's kind of, it can be a bit too serious sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a game like Bulletstorm, it's a breath of fresh air.
A reminder that games are, at their core, supposed to be fun.
Yeah, like first and foremost, it's about having a good time.
Absolutely. And sometimes the best way to deal with stress is to just embrace the chaos.
Just let go and enjoy the ride. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into the wild, wild world of Bulletstorm.
A game that might not have gotten all the love it deserved back in the day, but
it's found its audience, its people.
it definitely has. And for good reason. It's fun, it's frantic, it's a reminder that sometimes being different, well, that's what makes something special.
Couldn't agree more. It challenges you, makes you think differently about how you approach a first-person shooter.
And honestly, it reminds us that sometimes laughter's the best weapon of all, right?
Absolutely. Can't argue with that.
So if you haven't already, do yourselves a favor, check out Bulletstorm.
You might be surprised at how much fun you have.
Yeah, and who knows? You might even come up with some crazy skill shots of your own. Until next time, happy gaming, everyone.